Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here. Today I'd like to review Brawn by Stuart McRobert, which I believe is one of the best books for hardgainers. If not one of the best, probably the best book for hardgainers, at least to begin the topic on training for hardgainers, and I'll let you know why. I haven't actually quite finished the book completely. I'm up to the last chapter or two, and I think Stuart McRobert really hits the nail on the head for hardgainer training in general. I highly recommend his publications. In this particular book, he basically defines the hardgainer as the typical ectomorph with a very thin frame, especially thin boned, and who basically can't gain on the average high volume routine. Now, if you're like me, you know, many of us have basically opened a muscle mag when we first started training and tried out, whatever, who was the Olympia at the time. For me was either Lee Haney or Dorian Yates. And we tried the routines and they didn't work. I mean, they didn't work for me anyway. And if you're the same right now, for example, who the current Olympia is, Mr. Olympia, Sean Roden, or previously Phil Heath, and you try some of these routines, they'll most likely wipe you out. And you probably won't make many gains on these at all. And the very simple reason is that you don't have the genetic capability and or the drug assistance that these athletes have. And these are the things that are very much touched on. There is genetic variability among human beings, of course. We all have different capabilities based on our genetic structure. And of course, most of us are genetically typical average human beings. And for us that are not gifted and also not drug assisted, we actually really need more realistic expectations. And this book really touches on that, I have to admit. I actually may do a video on this particular list of realistic expectations in goals and muscle mass. I think it's a very important thing to touch on. Anyway, the book also covers, of course, very importantly, the aspect of progressive resistance training. Progressive resistance is absolutely important for a natural bodybuilder, and I really need to address this in a separate video, but I truly believe that the stronger you are as a natural bodybuilder, the greater your potential of muscle growth. It just makes sense. Of course, if you are on steroids, strength doesn't matter, because all that steroids do is increase protein and water in your cells, and they of course make you stronger synthetically without having to actually force your joints and muscles to grow synchronously. This is why when you obviously are off steroids, you shrink. But with natural bodybuilding, the process simply takes longer because the body needs to adapt to progressive resistance. It's the only way the muscle grows. Now, other things that are touched on, for example, the progressive resistance, not just of weight, of the weight that is being used in training, but the intensity as well should be varied, as well as the variability of the routines and exercises. So there's a lot of different kinds of variability that we can use. And of course, the importance of recovery and rest is highly stressed in this book, which is really important for the hard gainer, more so than the genetically gifted athlete. Finally, abbreviated routines are also given for hard gainers, and also for people with normal circumstances, such as would be mothers or fathers, family people, or overworked people, where they cannot afford time-wise to spend all this time in the gym. So it also gives abbreviated routines that can work for these kinds of people. Finally, the book also has a strong focus on the very big movements such as the squat and the deadlift, which obviously are going to give you the greatest muscle strength gains and growth gains. Nutrition and specialization are also touched on, but of course these aspects, specifically specialization, are left for the more advanced athlete, where I guess advanced is termed as a level of strength that is well above average, at least for natural bodybuilders. I give this book, which I consider one of the Hardgainer Bibles, a 10 out of 10 and a definite thumbs up from the Golden Era Bookworm. I recommend that you check out other books and publications by Stuart McRobert if you are a hard gainer. I mean, not everybody is a hard gainer. I know this, and a lot of people I've already reviewed Stuart's books have commented that they've always done high volume training, and that's great if that works for you. But if you've tried it and it doesn't work for you, you are likely a hard gainer. And I highly recommend then you also change your way of thinking, because obviously these routines will not work for you, and you need to look for something else, something more abbreviated, something more suited to your genetics. Again, I give this book a thumbs up. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. This is the Golden Era Bookworm. And one thing, if you would like to look at his publications, Stuart McRobert's publications and books, please visit www.hardgainer.com. Anyway, that's it for me. Leave me a comment and thank you for watching. Bye for now.